All right, y'all. You know what time it is. It is time for another episode of Guided Truth. And today we're in a whole different setup. So you see us side by side, right? So it is me, myself, Marwan Cameron, and also Guyland Charles. Guyland, how you doing this evening?
I'm highly favored and blessed.
Oh man, I'm blessed and highly favored. That's what I'm talking about, man. This is gonna be a good conversation tonight. Always look forward to our conversations. What we talking about tonight?
The importance of history.
Ooh, boy. Seeing as we're coming right off of the election, seems kind of appropriate to talk about our history. So I'm gonna let you jump right in, cause you know,
So history is very downplayed in today's society, or should I say, it's not thought equally, if not more important than it should be, or like other subjects you learn.
Now,
And
what
so,
history are we talking about? Because they say history is told by the victors. We talking about Black history, American history, African history, global history, biblical history. We got to be specific.
we talking about real history, just because real history is truth.
Okay.
So we can start biblical history, but just true history.
Well, what is true history? And how do we know it's true?
So yeah, it started biblically, but things are coming out now, as the Bible say. Knowledge is increasing more, and things are being found out that was withheld from the public.
Oh boy.
So we're learning that things have been whitewashed or things have been erased completely and just rewritten. So, like you said, the winners of certain conflicts, history has been rewritten to the victors.
You know what's interesting too about that is if you look at it's 2024 and you have to ask yourself, why are there powers that be that do not want to teach Black history in our schools, right? And
Anything up to anything past slavery.
past slavery, right? And so you'll hear things like, well, it's going to make, those kids feel bad. We didn't have any slaves. We need to move past it. It's divisive, right? They give all this litany of reasons, but yet and still, most people here, at least the people in power, have come from somewhere else, and they keep their Spanish history. They keep their, they keep their Confederate history, right? They keep their Turkish history. Wherever else they've come from on the globe, that history is important, right? And they hold on to that. But for us, it's like, no. We don't need to go back and talk about any of that history. And
it's crazy because ours is the most important.
wow, well, you dropping some breadcrumbs there.
Well, the Bible was all about the history of God and His people, and so when you look at it, there's a whole lot of breadcrumbs left in the Bible if you just read it and attempt to understand it. Then you'll find most people will find what they're looking for, regardless of race.
So let me ask you something. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Because this one, my dad was a Baptist minister. He went to theology school at Rochester Divinity at Colgate, right?
Yeah.
And so it was nice to be able to ask him questions.
Yeah.
And when I would get to a point where either he was exhausted with the conversation or really didn't have a good answer, I would get, well, God works in mysterious ways, and I need to pray on it. And that's
and those things are true. Those things are true because He do. I know a lot of His miracles are unbelievable, especially when He do them for you. He's like, wow,
But that's a big turnoff when you're trying to get answers. I'm coming to you. You went to theology school. You know these things.
So you can't blame him for that. Because theology school, a lot of these theology schools are taught, they're taught a specific way.
Right, but I don't know that, right? When I was younger,
as a kid, most kids don't know.
Yeah,
most kids don't know.
And so, but I still wasn't getting the answers, right? I mean, to a point, and then it's like, well, you need to pray on it, or, God works in mysterious ways, or, all will be revealed. And those things are very frustrating to an inquiring, youthful mind, but then as an adult, trying to understand who we are as a people, understand our faith, understand God, being told that is a big turnoff. It's like, here I come looking for answers, and you got riddles for me talking about, well, it's in the word. If you just read the word, like, man.
So don't get me wrong. Reading the word as is right now will give you history understanding. But when they say pray on it, because then God will show you what he's saying for his people today and what he wants them to know today. So if you read it once and then I read it, we'll probably get two different things from it. But that's when you pray and you ask for understanding and how does this apply to my life now in this present time, then you'll get a whole different understanding.
You know what I think would be awesome is reaching out to some of the church leaders and the pastors and, hopefully when they watch this episode, they could give us, supplemental documents or resources to read to help us, basically frame out, the region, when things happen, the time. If you remember a couple months ago, I was doing a timeline of, Africa, trying to get a mental picture of how time, elapsed for the different tribes in the countries and then how we eventually got here, just so I could see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was born in the 70s. Well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But then you go 50 years previous to that, it's the 20s, right? You go 50 years before that, now you're talking about 1870, and the way the United States looked is like...
completely different.
Wow.
Yeah, completely different.
And then when you rewind that another couple hundred years, and then when you say things like, we've been in bondage for 400 years, I mean, I can't even really visualize that in my mind, 400 years, so many generations of slavery and what it looked like on the continent, how we were, what the world looked like at that time. And then going back even further to the time when Christ lived and he died, what were we doing? What was going on? And how do we know that we're God's chosen people? How do we know that?
Oh, how do we know?
Yeah.
So the book of Deuteronomy kind of explains what was going to happen to God's children if they obeyed. He explained the blessings and how they would get everything that they desired. But he also prophesied that if you don't obey, these will be the punishments. And those punishments started off with going back into slavery again, into what I call, because it said going back into slavery to Egypt by ships. And I think that's just a spiritual Egypt.
But how do you know if something is a tangible versus a spiritual? And then
because you will see. So you had to take some of the things take some of the things that the Israelites had to endure in Egypt, how they were being treated as slaves. Because Bible says you can have slaves, but you treat your slaves and your servants as family. In Egypt, they didn't do that, and then here they didn't do that.
But Hebrew Israelites aren't those the Jewish people?
No,
No.
and you're That's a whole nother video. But
But they would say that they're the ones that are oppressed and driven out.
But see, when you ask them, they'll tell you they've never been. I mean, they've had periods in time where they were oppressed, but there wasn't oppressed 400 years.
So where were they before Germany?
Before Germany? So originally they came from Khazaria.
Okay, where's that?
So Khazaria is in what we would call Ukraine. So basically like a part of Russia.
Ah.
And the
plot thickens.
The Caucasus Mountains.
Okay.
But that's a whole different story.
There was Jewish people in the Caucasus Mountains?
Not necessarily Jewish people. They were Judaist converts.
Okay.
So basically, it was a king. I think King Bulan he had Muslim, like Islam on one side, and I think Christianity on the other side. And he had to pick and choose of which type of religion he was going to have to deal with. And he basically had some of his people go to Israel and basically find out how or what religion they were going to try to take upon their whole country.
Gotcha.
And ended up not even being real Judaism. They end up studying Talmudism, which is a total different. That's a total different thing, but it wasn't real Judaism that they were actually studying.
So we don't have the Bible in front of us right now, but just to kind of digress a little bit, you're saying that black folks that are here in America are God's chosen people because...
Well, I'm saying their DNA, so now it's DNA proven. So you had a professor from Duke go over there and go to Africa, and they were in pursuit. So everybody was calling themselves God's chosen people for like years. So I don't know what made this professor go over here, but he wanted to start taking people's DNA from different areas or different tribes and different countries. So he went and found that there were 2 tribes in Africa that actually have the DNA that they can match back to Aaron, Moses' brother Aaron.
Okay.
And so they call that blood, they call it Cohen, or basically the priests. So that's basically what we were supposed to be. But our DNA is actually slightly, I mean, it's very similar. It's very similar, but it's slightly different. Like I think the last letter is like one off.
Okay. I mean, but that can create quite a mutation.
It can, but we don't come from Ham, so it's DNA proven. It's biblically proven. So,
but we love bacon so much. Oh, you're not talking about that.
So, people have to be open-minded enough to, when you read something, go research it and go check it out and, find out for yourself what it is.
All right, so I like what we're doing. So the first assertion is that we are God's chosen people, that the Bible backs that up. There was a Duke professor that went to the continent, got a bunch of DNA from folks, and is able to prove it that way. So now let me ask you, what is the significance of understanding that as truth? Let's say we've done our research. We're like, okay, it's true. We're God's chosen people. Now what? What does that mean?
Okay, so
what do I do with that info?
So before it helps really before you even get that info, it helps to really be a follower of Christ. It really does, because if you don't, then you're going to have the wrong attitude, and you're not going to be living the life the way you should. You're going to have a lot of anger, which isn't right, and then you're going to be you're going to fall back into Judaism and the 616 laws that you're not supposed to be following now.
I see. So the Hebrew Israelites
is
wearing the purple
is only for identity only.
Got you.
Because being a Hebrew Israelite can't get you into heaven.
Got you. Okay. So let's say I want to live La Vida Loca and I'm not following Jesus quite yet. You know, tell me I can take it. How should I process this information? I don't go back to the 600 laws. 600 laws, because that's why Jesus came and died, right? And
exactly.
We have the New Testament, so we don't have to live under those laws. So I get that piece of it.
Yeah.
So now, how do I use this information? How should I?
Okay, so now that you know who you are, okay, so you know that you are supposed to be living a certain way. You don't necessarily have to live a certain way, but you know that you're not the bottom of the barrel. So you know that
I feel like I'm bottom of the barrel.
No, but you shouldn't.
Really?
Once you know who you are, then you need to start picking yourself up by the boots.
By the boots?
By the bootstraps. And start, men need to grow up and start acting like men.
Okay.
And women, I'm not saying they need to grow up and start acting like adult women.
All right. So
because we were supposed to be the priests and the examples to all these other countries and peoples on how to worship and love God. That's what the whole point was. So we were supposed to be an example to the rest of the world, right?
Yeah.
Now, in God's infinite wisdom, we're still the example. We're just the example of what not to do.
For good or for bad?
For good or bad.
Wow.
So he punished his children. So if everybody in the world was really paying attention, they'd be like, ooh, we know who these people are, and if God is getting them like that, then we need to get up and we need to be doing the opposite. We need to be doing what their God says what should be doing. Because there's Christians all over the world.
So we need to stop teaching them how to twerk and teach them how to pray.
Exactly.
And follow Jesus.
Exactly.
Right. So, you know.
Because most people don't even know that twerking ain't good. Twerking is actually a form of worship.
Wow. So, you know, it's interesting because, you know, American black folks are so influential throughout the globe. You know, you've got third world countries that are mimicking things that you see here.
Exactly. But see, they're not mimicking the right things because we're not doing the right things. Mm-hmm. So that should tell you we were special from the beginning. Mm-hmm. If people can't help but copy what they see us do.
Gotcha.
But if we were doing the right thing, what we were supposed to be doing, then everybody else will be copying that.
So your thesis statement then is if American black folks knew who they are currently, and then begin to live their life in that knowledge, then we would, one, get closer to God, but then we would also teach and be the priest for the globe, for humanity.
I mean, that was the original intent, right? So
did it switch up?
Because everybody, so people gotta understand there's a physical Israel, and then there's a spiritual Israel. So the spiritual Israel is whoever believes can still be grafted in. So it was always meant for mankind. It was never like, I don't know who created the races, but it was only supposed to be just the human race. That was it.
Okay.
And people don't understand that because all the shenanigans that went on in the past, in history, what makes the human race so important, because it was a lot of mixing going on, a lot of DNA mixing, and a lot of race mixing.
All right, well, before we go too far, because, you know, if it was just supposed to be humankind, and at one point we were all black because the cradle of civilization is Africa, right?
Yep. All three of Moses' sons were black.
So then what is it? Then there still has to be there's 12 tribes. So then divided based on tribe, right?
For the most part, but I think, yeah. So I had just learned that one of the tribes had got, one of the tribes lost their inheritance, and then another tribe got brought in. So, yeah, you got to constantly be reading because that way you're constantly learning and applying what you learn. So, it's never too late to be learning.
So in that, then over the thousands of years, right? Everyone starts off black. You have these 12 tribes. They get pushed out throughout the globe, and then based on what region they live in, our DNA begins to adapt to support that region. Whether we're in the Caucasus Mountains, or we're in the Sahara, or we're in a more temperate climate.
So, but all right. So now you pulling out the Apocrypha now.
Uh-oh.
So there are some things in there that people should read because, well, in the Bible it tells you there were giants in the world before and after the flood. So there were some non-black races or mixed races back then that had fallen angel blood in them.
So what were the angels that came down the 200? What were they called?
Oh, the Watchers.
The Watchers.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was, because you got me reading the Apocrypha, and I started that book, by the way.
Oh, okay.
It's a little dry.
It starts off. It starts off. Yeah, it starts
Woo.
off dry.
I'm like, man, is this really what he wanted me to read?
But let me know when you get to the.
It's starting to pick up.
The mathematical.
Yeah.
Equations, because I need you to help me understand that part. Cause
okay.
A lot of that math part went over my head a little bit.
We're getting close to it.
Okay.
But, you got me reading the Apocrypha and trying to gain an understanding. And with the 200, which were the Watchers, right?
Yep.
200 of them said, hey, let's go and take these women.
Yeah. They
They had sex with the women. They bore offspring. The offspring were Nephilim, right?
Yep.
God brings the flood. He's pissed off. He destroys the earth, tells Noah to build a boat. Then he has the rainbow as the promise, saying, I'll never destroy the earth this way again. Next time it's going to be hellfire.
Yep. You already know.
But that when you say that there were giants that existed
the Bible said that.
The Bible says that.
Yeah.
Then there were more than 200 Watchers, right? All of the Watchers didn't make that choice, which would make sense that there would still be some left over, right?
I mean, that, and then we just don't know. We just don't know how far the mixing went specifically. So with Moses, it was he had his 3 sons, right? So when you look at the Hebrew translation, you had Ham, who was like, basically they say this skin was black. And then you had...
And love pork chops.
You had Shem, who basically was, they said, comely, but like brown skin, but comely. So like a nice, not a roasted brown, but a nice brown complexion. And then Japheth.
Some fried chicken, basically.
Who had to be extremely light. So more than likely he was albino.
Kind of like hummus.
All right. Because they all were brothers, right? And they all came from the same parents. So they all had to be black.
All right. I'll pick it up what you put down. Just trying to give people some colors to, have that relationship, right?
So people have to...
So some hummus, some fried chicken, and black licorice walking to a bar. And then that's what happens.
So people have to learn to start reading so they can get the whole story.
And then that's how things kind of switch out.
Well, that and who was it? The giants that David slew.
Oh, Goliath?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Goliath, and then supposedly he had some other brothers. But the Goliath, they were what race of people were they?
Were they Nephilim?
They were Philistine. They were Philistines, right?
You have to tell me. I don't want to miss. Now, was David and Goliath post flood or pre-flood?
No, they were They were post-flood.
Post-flood. Oh, okay.
But though the Philistines, they were probably like a different branch off of the Nephilim. But it was a few, like the Hittites. It was a few of a lot of the Hites, a lot of the Ites were of that.
Were
But
they
you have to
Nephilim
go.
or were they watchers?
They were like a result of the Nephilim, like of the mixing.
Really? But I thought God saw that as an abomination and used the flood to
But
kill
then
them all.
I said a result of. So I don't know. But then again, it said the Bible said like some were after too. So we don't know if they were mixing again, or we don't know. There was no explanation. The Bible just says they were there before the flood and after. So it was giants in the earth before. So the ones that were before were probably full Nephilim.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the ones after were the giants, probably like Goliath and some of his people. But like a lot of the bones that have been found are collected and put away. So nobody can really examine or go see that they're find the proof of these giants and how tall they were.
So is it your belief then, because I've been thinking about this, like you have these folks that have these secrets, right? We know the Vatican has a lot of artifacts. We know that, folks would go on archaeological hunts and digs and get these artifacts throughout the world and then put them under lock and key, and then people don't have access and they can't research, and countries would claim certain, pieces of property, and now everything is all top secret. Do you think they do that because if the globe knew what the truth was, they would lose power? Like, I think it's all centered around power.
Not necessarily. Well, power to an extent. It would if all of that was revealed, then you would have less atheists because it would prove that the Bible is 100% right. And so you would have a lot of people. A lot of people would get real scared real fast, and then you would have a lot of people converting to Christianity.
Well, that's what I mean. And then those that are in power would lose power because now it would be a sin to be
not
covetous and
but it would be a sin, but that don't mean they would lose power. So it's just like when people come and say, all right, look, you got to take them. You're either going to take this mark or you're going to starve to death. You still got choice.
Well, here's the reason why I say that, right? We look now, the people that have power, right, in our community. Okay. And I'll take the presidential election as a really good allegory for this, right? Okay. I may be using the wrong word. But the vice president brought out Beyonce and Steve Harvey and Magic Johnson and all of these people that have power and stature and fame.
That have fame, yeah.
To try to get us to vote in a certain way, right? Yeah. And so if we all were in the age of knowledge, black folks knew who they were, and globally people knew without a shadow of a doubt God existed and all the things in the Bible were true, then we would not look at those folks and put them in such high esteem, right? They would literally be entertainment at best. And probably not even looked at it at that.
I can't even say that because a lot of people, they want to believe those celebrities are their fantasy. Some people will have the truth right in their face, and since it has rules and regulations to it, they be like, nah, I'd rather go this route where there's no rules, and I get to have all this pleasure and fun without any consequence.
And that's what I'm saying. People want to have the power.
So it's not even about power. People, we have been so brainwashed to the point to where power don't even matter anymore. I mean, back in the 20s, maybe.
Maybe I'm using the wrong word. I don't mean power.
Because we're just corrupted. We're just corrupt now at this point. Like at presently, we're corrupted so bad that a lot of people don't even care to want to know the truth. If it takes them away from what they want, then they don't want to know the truth.
Oh, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
For
So to find out, they'd be like, oh, no, I've been living this way and it's wrong and I'm going to go to hell for this. Some people don't want to know. Some people won't care.
Well, here's the thing,
Some people will, but a lot of people will not care. They'll be like, you know what? Since I'm going out in the blaze.
And then that's why Popeyes and churches and KFC is thriving. And that's the blaze that a lot of us go through, right?
Oh, for that chicken.
We need that yard bird. You know what I'm saying? Fried in some succulent grease and seasoned to perfection to golden brown. But I mean that really is a great example, right? So we know that it's not healthy, and some of us eat too much of it, right? We consume too much. We know whether it's porn or being gluttonous on food or wine or whatever it may be, marijuana. Looking at
you're just saying whatever addiction you have.
Things are today, right?
Yeah.
That's what those things are. So. Ignorance is bliss in that regard. We don't want to face what is the truth that actually has been in our face the whole time, right? Because we've had the word. Most of us have grown up in the word.
Yeah.
But, and as a kid, we've, been taught to read the Bible. We've memorized Bible verses, memorized books of the Bible, have really gone into some in-depth study, vacation Bible school. Many of us have gone through it and yet have rejected it in our adulthood because, well, man, it's my turn to turn up, right? And we got free will, and right now, my will says I don't want to follow what the good book says because that's a narrow path and it ain't fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be fun, but it ain't gonna be the kind of fun that most people want, though. And it's gonna be some tough times.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be tough times even if you follow the word, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone in the Bible got some pretty hard stories up in there. It was like, whoo, boy.
Yeah, but, I mean, after their story, they came out tried and true.
Yeah, well, because, I tell a story about my dad a lot, and because he had a relationship with God and it was so strong that even when he went through his amputations, he still had joy. Yeah. Right, and a lot of folks are, they're cursing God, or if they're atheists, they're depressed, and why me? Why did this happen to me? He never had any of that. He had joy and just praised God the entire time.
Because his faith, he knew without a doubt when your faith can't be shook.
Super powerful, man. Woo. Super powerful.
Yeah,
you're not being faithful and being a believer doesn't mean you're not going to go through things.
Exactly.
But it does mean you're going to go through it different.
Yeah.
And I would much rather go through it the way of being a devout follower of Jesus than not knowing him and just suffering through whatever you're going to go through in your life, for sure.
Yeah.
So we've been going for a little bit. We've been everywhere. I've taken you on a journey. We're talking about geography, and we're in the world of Carmen Sandiego. But in that, if we pull back just a little bit, for folks, because there's so many different things to get into when you start reading the Bible. I'm reading for purpose. I'm reading because I'm sad. I'm reading for answers. Here tonight, we're talking about reading for history, trying to figure out what our history is specifically as Black people, but just true history, period, right? We all really need to know what the real history is. Where would you recommend folks start if they want to dig into the Bible and get to learning about the actual human history?
I will start at the beginning.
Okay.
Start at the beginning. Genesis is a great place to start. That way you get to see how God reacted to the first sin and the consequences of not just talking to God. Because before people made mistakes, they could have asked questions and got clarity. And who knows, what would have happened after that. But luckily, God is a merciful God, and because he's changed. Well, I ain't gonna say he's changed, but he doesn't punish the same way he did then. He doesn't punish the same way now, and a lot of us are grateful. Should be grateful for that because we'd been dead on the spot
about 1 million times over. I wouldn't have made it past 3.
Man, so Yeah, Genesis is a good spot to start. It's a good place to start.
Would you recommend for folks, there again, for those that don't know, there are many different versions of the Bible. I like going to Bible Gateway because they have them all there digitally. What are some New Living Testament? Is that one okay?
You can go, man, because the King James is kind of all of the thous and these are a little
And that's why I'm bringing that
can be a
up,
little too
'cause
much.
yeah.
So you want to get your regular English Bible, but you also want to get is something I have to get also is a Hebrew concordance.
Okay.
So
Now
when you
explain what that
get
is.
so it's basically it gives you the Hebrew translation of certain words. So in the Bible, let's take the word love.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on it has different, like in Hebrew they said love like a few different ways,
Okay.
and one was basically the love between like a set of siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and then a different could be between a father and a child, and another one could be between a man and his wife.
Okay.
So, but they were three. It was three different words that was used, but when you translate them, it's just love.
Got you.
And so that's the problem that we run it. Well, we don't even know we run into that problem because a lot of people just read the Bible and just accept it as is. And that's why people think, well, there are so many different conflicts, and it's not conflicts in the Bible. You need to have the proper word so you get the proper context.
So you brought that up, so I have to go there. When you're talking about there's three different kinds and you're looking at the compendium, will it tell you which kind of love is being referred in that particular verse?
It should.
And the reason why I'm asking that is you have some preachers in churches now that are making the argument that certain figures in the Bible were gay because they spoke of love, but it was a different type of love, a love between brothers or siblings, like you said, right? So is that where the distinction is? And then they're kind of twisting the word.
I don't know, because God said just don't. God said don't lay with. Like basically he was saying he didn't like two men shouldn't lay together like a man and a wife, and two women shouldn't lay together, and you shouldn't lay with like family members like that, right? But that was, even though, because it said in the Bible, it says something about there are going to be hard and soft men and hard and soft women.
Okay.
But just because you're born that way don't mean that you have to necessarily act on those things. Because he never said like don't feel a certain way.
Okay.
Because I mean, for all we know, that could be your test in life. You know, you don't know. But he did give the specific rule. He's the specific word. Don't lay with. But, so he was saying basically, if that's your burden to bear, don't act on it. Is basically what he was saying. He gave it. He specifically said, don't act on it. But see, those things have spiritual and dangerous consequences.
Well, like the Bible says, don't be covetous, right? Is it don't cover thy neighbor's wife?
Yeah.
So if you act on that, I mean, clearly.
Now, see that's because he's giving you a direct rule right there. He said don't covet, so don't mess with somebody's wife.
But it also
don't look at somebody's wife.
Man shouldn't lay with man, right? So that's not a commandment.
It's not. Just because it's 10 Commandments, he had other rules, but those rules was to help. One, they was to keep Satan from having free access to you, because once you sin, You just gave Satan the legal right to mess with you wherever you sinned at. Whatever you use to do that sin, boom, he got free legal right. So people need to be aware of that one thing. It's not all about all these rules, all these laws, why we got to follow these rules. God was actually trying to be a good father in that sense. He was trying to say, look, Satan is he's like the professional legal person. As soon as you, because basically what he does, Satan, every time somebody sins, Satan throws it in God's face saying, boom, I got legal right to that person now. Because when you look at God and he gives a royal, so you got to look at when a king gives a royal decree, that's it. You can't take it back. It's the decree. Now he can say something else after to like if he wants to counter that rule, but when he says a decree, that's it. So Satan is like, oh, bet. God said that's a decree, can't be changed unless God says something after that fact. But he can't pull that one rule back.
Okay, I got you.
So when God says don't do this type of sin, it's to keep Satan from having a legal right to mess with you in that.
All right, I'm picking up what you're putting down. So one more thing as we get ready to wrap. You know, we're talking about knowledge and geography and people knowing where they come from. And, you know, one of the things, again, looking at the election and some other things that's going on contemporary, we're in a very feminist time here in the United States, and you're seeing that kind of being pushed throughout the globe, especially in first world countries. But what's interesting to me is, you know,
I should have you pull up a video, but go ahead.
You know, we talk about toxic masculinity and the patriarchy and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that always frustrates me about the black community is when we call each other, hey king, hey queen, you know, that always is very frustrating to me on several reasons. One, we all can't be descendants of royalty, right?
Oh, no, but in the Bible, we were all called. Like, so you would see, so there's king with a capital K, which should be God the Almighty, and then there was king with the lowercase.
We all can't be kings. Someone got to till the farm. I mean, you
but
get what I'm saying?
But there's Lord. But those are lords, and if you those who get to heaven will help rule, and you get
We're not talking about heaven. We talking about here. We calling each other kings and queens.
But you're supposed to rule. You're supposed to live here like you in heaven.
Everybody ain't no king and no queen. Is what I'm saying.
But if
hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead. Yep.
So everyone that can't be a king and a queen.
Why not?
And hold on, you didn't let me finish.
But when you say that, go ahead and finish.
Hold on. So then, what you're saying is that's a monarchy, right? Which is either going to be patriarchy or a matriarchy. So it still doesn't even follow suit. So it just drives me crazy. But if we go back, right? Now we're pre-slavery, right? The boats didn't come over. The tribes didn't, you know, make their deal and send us over here.
So
we go back.
We're still in Africa.
Hold on. You got warring tribes, right?
Okay, yep.
It ain't a tribe of kings and queens. Someone got to tend to the sheep. Someone got to be out there with the plow. Someone got to be making,
so
you know what I'm saying?
Biblically, every man is a king of his household.
Oh, boy. And so every woman is a queen of her household?
Because she's supposed to be in charge. She's in charge of the household.
And so what if the king isn't married and has any kids? Or she's not married and doesn't have any kids? Then she's a queen of an empty household?
Because so how it went is if a woman wasn't married, she'd still be living under her father's roof.
So, but then she wouldn't be a queen because her mother would be a queen.
Exactly.
So she'd be a princess.
Basically.
So you're the princess of your castle. You're the king of your castle. You see how problematic that is?
I would be the king of my castle, but I'm not worried about all of that.
But why would I walk around saying, "Hey, king," when you just the king of your castle?
Because I
don't recognize your royalty. I in your
because
house.
We have an identity crisis. That's why they do that.
But that makes it worse. I think it makes us more confused.
It does, but see, a lot of people when they say that, they're not thinking biblically. They just saying it just to make themselves feel good, or for whatever reason.
But they're
they
not
feel
even thinking
to
practically. Like if you are down with the patriarchy and toxic masculinity, but then you're talking about a monarchy in the way that you refer to each other, it's like, are y'all even understanding what you're saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm being extra literal right now, but
Yeah.
it's just I've always hated that. Like, you ain't no royalty. You acting more like a court jester than a king or a queen. I digress. I rest my case.
But people, basically, they said we need to lift each other up. It basically is what that is.
Yeah, but in being realistic, not being fake and false. You know, hey King. Oh man, I know you just sold some fentanyl to your brother King over here and your queen, but you a king. Oh, did you just kill your fellow king over there?
So again,
for his Jordans?
So
you
we
took his royal shoes, huh?
So well, you see, we got issues.
Yeah, we do.
So I mean, you can't at this point in the game, you can't knock anybody for at least trying to speak some positive into somebody else's life.
But it's a false positive.
Yeah,
I think we got to get more
But it's a
accurate.
positive. It's a positive nonetheless.
Man,
I know. It's not heartfelt and it's not like good. But hey, at this point, because right now, where we at right now, there is no positivity like that I can see. Like as a whole, as a group.
Oh, that's the same thing about calling each other saints. Hey, like, hey, saint. Like, what you mean, hey, saint? You know what you was doing last night in the club? I know, because I was in the club, too. I mean, not yesterday. Because I don't live like that anymore. I'm saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Spirit. I want to be. I would like to be. But I'm not there yet.
And so that's the whole point. We just trying to get there.
Are we?
Well, we should be.
Some people are.
We should be trying to take steps to improve and to live a Christ-like life.
And that's where you get well, God knows my heart. And
No, but see, He knows. No, so God knows your intentions.
What's my intention?
Well, only God knows, because that's what He gonna judge you on.
Right, but that's what
He knows your
God
heart,
can
but
judge me.
your intentions is what's in your heart.
See, I'm like Tupac. Only God can judge me.
No, so the whole point is you're supposed to be able to judge your brother, but without being a hypocrite. So if you have a problem in one area, you can't judge somebody else who got the same problem because you got the needle in your own eye.
Well, that's why I said, in my example, we're both in the club, so that's how I know you was there. Not that I'm not in the club now, y'all. Just so you know, but that is a very salient example.
So as people, just like everybody, just like not just different colored people, we all we got to get it together, because this next, I don't even want to say next 4 years. This next year is going to be a true test of who we are as Americans, because history has shown that it's time to be careful and tread lightly.
And I think what people don't realize in that is we all have our experiences and how we go through life here in America, right? Mm-hmm. And so for some folks, even through COVID, they thrived, right? Mm-hmm. They made more money than they ever made. Their folks were fine. Everything was good. Other folks were losing loved ones left or right. Yeah. Some people have never recovered. You still have folks that we walk past every day that are homeless, that are strung out on drugs, that are dying. Yeah. Human trafficking. You got all these things that are happening all in the midst. Yeah. And for many of us, that's not our life, right? So we're like, oh, everything is good. So why do I need to? Things aren't bad, like you're saying. You're just a doom and gloomer.
But I'm not blind. I mean, I see everything that's going. Well, I see a lot of things that are bad and that's going on. So all you can do is pray and lead the rest to God, because we're only meant to do so much.
But we got to do something, right? We don't just
whatever God tell you to do, that's what you're supposed to do.
It ain't my monkey, not my circus. We don't get to like that.
Unless God tell you, it's your time. That's what you need to do.
Man, we're going to talk about that. Like, how do you know if God is talking to you? we'll end it there tonight, because we'll just keep on going. But I think that's a big one.
Okay,
God told me to do this. I was like, Seriously.
Well, so all right. So before we end it, we'll leave it on this.
Okay.
You'll get confirmation.
What kind of confirmation?
So it'll be like 4 or 5 people to tell you that same thing.
But there's also confirmation bias, right?
It is. But if these people are like have never met or just different people are saying, oh, you seem like you'll be good doing this. If God has told you and you be like, well, I'm not even sure if I want to believe that or I don't know. Let's see if this is really it or not. You'll get confirmation from other people. Will constantly you'll hear that one thing more and more. Like, yeah, you need to be doing that. Yeah, you need to do that.
Man, I'm hungry. And then, Brother Rod's like, man, I'm kind of hungry too, man. I ain't had no fried chicken in a while. Then he's like, hey, man.
That's not confirmation.
That sounds like some confirmation right there.
That's just saying y'all hungry and want some chicken. That's not confirmation.
Oh, man. We're going to get deeper into that one because there is confirmation bias. I think that'll be a very stimulating conversation.
All right.
But, man, we'll end it there for tonight. Man, I hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode. Again, please comment in the chat if you do have questions and comments. Brother Guyland does look at those comments and will respond to those. But for Guyland, I am Marwan. This is
Guided Truth.
All right, on the Conduit Podcast Network. All right, y'all, we will see you next time. Stay blessed and highly favored. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other.